So for anyone who just signed on, the way this presentation is going to work is I'm going to run through some content. If you have questions while I'm running through the content, just type it in the chat and I will either address it as I'm speaking, or we will be saving most of the Q&A for the very end, especially if we're asking about a situation that's really unique to your firm. So drop your questions in and then I will address them at the end. So today we are talking about lead management. And the title of today's presentation is You've Got a New Lead and Now What? So one thing, when we're talking about marketing, we're talking about a numbers game. It's really about I need a certain number of qualified eyeballs to get a certain number of qualified leads to get a certain number of clients. And when you know your numbers here at each phase, then it really just becomes about how do I get more qualified eyeballs, because on the back end of that, I'll get qualified leads and I'm going to get qualified clients. So my goal today, and for all of these sessions, is to make your firm growth simpler by making online marketing simpler. If you're like many of the attorneys and business owners I speak with, sometimes it can feel really overwhelming, especially in the online world, about where should I focus my time and energy? What strategy is right for my firm? Do I need to be on all of the channels, or where should I be focusing my resources to get maximum return on effort? Or often I hear, hey, I'm doing a lot of marketing, but I'm really not seeing the results that I expect. So if this sounds like you, just let me know in the chat if any one of those pain points are something you're currently struggling with, and I will be addressing them throughout this content. Okay. So before we talk about lead management, I really want to give you a high-level overview about how you can create more value from your existing marketing assets so you can not only generate more leads, but better leads and more sales-ready leads. We can have all the leads in the world, but if they're not sales-ready, then they're not going to convert right away. And so we're not just looking at how do we get more qualified leads, but how do we make sure that the leads are ready to become clients so that by the time we hop on a consultation with them, we can close pretty quickly. So when I'm thinking about firm growth, I'm thinking about marketing from 3 points of view. One is lead generation. So how am I getting those new qualified eyeballs? The second is lead qualification. So how am I qualifying the leads? Because as you well know, not all leads are created equal. Some are ready to become clients right away. Some may be tire kickers and some may be somewhere in between. So we need an easy mechanism for sorting through who's a great lead for us to hop on a consultation with right now, and who's going to need more time and information before they're ready for a consultation. Because as an attorney, you only have so much time. You also have plenty of cases to work on, and we don't want you jumping on calls with unqualified leads. Then the third piece is lead nurturing. So this is for those leads that need more time and information. How do we stay in touch with them? How do you stay top of mind? How do you demonstrate your authority so that they become more sales ready, so that when they're ready to hop on a consultation, they're ready to go? So I'd love to ask, and if you just type in the chat, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the worst, how would you rate your firm's follow-up process right now with new leads? No judgment here, just trying to gauge where people are at and what your lead follow-up process currently looks like. Okay, 8, 4, 6, 5, great. So we have a wide range. Awesome. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to keep this number in mind, and then I'm going to ask you this again at the end of the session once you've learned the process that we recommend. So just keep the number in mind that you just said right now, and then we'll chat a little bit more at the end about this. Okay, so this is a common approach I see. I call it the buy now or buy forever approach, which basically means oftentimes as attorneys, as business owners who are handling so much in our firms, sales, marketing, actually fulfilling on the services that we promise, it can feel like we're spread pretty thin. And what this ultimately results in is this buy now or buy forever approach that I see often, which is someone fills out our contact form and then we are willing to pay attention to the lead because they feel really hot. But if they're not ready to buy right away, become a client right away, then we forget about them forever. And any potential lead that comes to our site, comes to engage with us in some sort of way, but isn't ready to even jump on a consultation, we often forget about. And I feel like this leaves a lot of money on the table, for lack of a better phrase, and that we are missing a big opportunity to be turning anonymous website visitors and turning people who are engaging with us but haven't filled out our contact form into qualified leads, so that when they are ready to take the next step, it's with us instead of a competitor. So I just want to put this stat in front of you because I think it's really telling. But if you nurture your leads, on average, you'll see a 20% increase in sales opportunities. So I just want you to think about, if I had 20% more clients, what would that mean for my firm? And I think when you think about that in terms of numbers, in terms of both revenue and total number of clients, it can be a pretty big impact on your total firm revenue, on the total number of clients you have. And when you learn our process, you'll see, you know what, this is not that much work to add on top of what we're already doing to see potentially a 20% increase in sales opportunities. So I hinted at this earlier, but as you well know, all leads are not created equal. So I'd love to know, has anyone ever jumped on a consultation with a lead that was not ready to become a client, or someone that you would consider a tire kicker, which I think is a phrase that is used a lot? Just let me know in the chat. Have you ever done this? And if you have, I think the feeling can be a little frustrating because you only have so much time in the day. You jumped on a call with someone who's not ready. No, yeah, absolutely. Waste of time. Totally. Feels like a waste of time. We don't want to jump on calls with everyone. We want to be able to understand who's ready now, and let's jump on a call with them to then convert them into a client. Anyone who's not ready, we want to have marketing that's working in the background that doesn't require your time. As the highest value person in your firm, your time is precious, and you don't need to be talking to everyone, especially if they're not ready to move forward. So this is a marketing concept. It's not created by me, it's created by Eugene Schwartz, and I'm just going to illustrate it for you because I really want you to understand where leads fit in these 5 stages of awareness. So at the top of this funnel, if you will, we have what's unaware. These are people who aren't aware they have a problem, and they're not looking for solutions. This is a very hard place to start advertising from. So typically we don't do any marketing for anyone who's unaware. And we have these other 4 stages where we do marketing. So problem aware means I know I have a problem, but I'm not sure what solutions exist, and I'm not sure who has those solutions. So I may understand that, I have a criminal issue that may need some help, but I'm not sure what kind of help exists, and I'm not sure who is providing that help. In solution aware, I know that there are solutions that exist. So not only am I aware of my problem, but I also know, hey, here are a few different solutions that exist that can help me. So maybe it's hiring an attorney, maybe it's a number of other solutions that aren't related to hiring legal counsel. Okay, then when I'm at product aware, I know specifically, for example, what Noah's solutions are. Let's say Noah is a criminal attorney. I know, okay, he has these 3 options for me in terms of hiring me as his as legal counsel. And let me think about which is going to be the best one for me. And then we have most aware, which is when someone is kind of really at that tipping point and ready to sign with you. So when you think about these stages of awareness, and we think about those really qualified leads versus not qualified leads, the reason people often aren't qualified is because they're still in these early stages. They're problem aware, maybe they're solution aware, but they're not yet aware of what your services are and how you can best help them. So we don't want to direct those leads to consultations. We want to direct them to getting more information and more education from us, so that when they're ready for a consultation and when they're in this product and solution aware stage, they jump on a call with us. So when you think about your marketing this way, you realize that, hey, I might be trying to use a hammer to move everyone to consultations when really I need to be using a hammer in this one scenario, in solution aware, product aware, most aware, but in problem aware, I need to be using a screwdriver. I need to be using a different tool. So how do we do this? We put in what I like to call lead qualification system in place. So this is really simple. You may have some pieces already in place. You may have none of these pieces already in place, but I'm going to break it down for you so that you can see, okay, what actions can I take after this webinar to really easily start qualifying my leads. So I want 2 clear action paths on your website. Both of them are designed to convert anonymous visitors into leads. So if you have a website right now, you may be investing in other services like paid ads, SEO, social media marketing, etc. Those visitors are only as good as the contact information you collect. If not, you just have these anonymous people on your site and there's no way to follow up with them. So we really want some mechanisms in place to allow you to follow up with your leads. Because if you remember those stages of awareness, many people need more time and more information before they're going to be ready for a consultation. So the first action path is what we call in the marketing world a lead magnet. Essentially what this is free incentive that you give a prospect in exchange for their email address. So if we think outside the legal industry, you may see this on some of your favorite e-commerce stores. Enter your information to get 10% off your first order. It's really common in any sort of online store. What they're doing there is they're collecting your email and giving you some incentive to make a purchase. So because they understand that the first purchase isn't where there's the most value from you, but they want you to keep purchasing. And if you don't make that first purchase, they want to have some ways to nudge you to making that first purchase. So similarly, in the legal industry, we think about lead magnet a little differently. It's not a coupon for your services, but rather it would be some sort of free piece of content that's gated behind a request for their email address. Sometimes you may even request their phone number. So for example, in our James Marketing Amplifier service, we have a 100 to 300 page book that we will offer as a lead magnet. So Cara, I might let you jump in and talk a little bit about this because you have some other thoughts on other ideas for lead magnets that attorneys can use.
Oh, sure. Yeah. Thanks, Lauren. Hi, everyone. In case I don't know you, I see many familiar names on the list, though, but I'm Cara Pryor, president of James Publishing and co-founder of our Marketing Amplifier system. So, Lauren makes some really good points about lead magnets and really the critical importance, right? So, I mean, your prospects, they will welcome content that helps sort of answer their questions, and they will pretty readily request your lead magnets. So, simply, again, what we mean by lead magnets, it's educational, high value content that is gated, right? Meaning that in order to access the content, we're asking for that prospect's contact information. And it's pretty well known too that your prospects will respect an attorney who has a book to offer, right? That really kind of showcases their expertise. So as Lauren has outlined on this slide, as part of our Marketing Amplifier program, we do include a 100-page book that's completely branded. Adding a high quality lead magnet to your site, it will almost certainly increase the number of inquiries that you receive from your site with kind of the same level of traffic, meaning, increasing your appointments, increasing your conversion rate without investing in driving more traffic to your site necessarily, right? So we're talking about kind of boosting that conversion rate, taking advantage of the traffic that you're already getting from those folks who come to your site. Again, they're not quite ready to just pick up the phone, right? They're not quite, far enough down that funnel to book a consult with you, but more than likely they have questions about the situation that they're going through. They're apprehensive. They need to gather more information. And certainly if you're the one that can provide an educational, comprehensive lead magnet, such as a 100-page book, certainly And then, we'll nurture them along until they are ready to sign. You're the attorney who has been helping them along, the whole time. More than likely, your competitors are not doing this, really easy way to kind of distinguish yourself. And I want to mention too, so for many of our Marketing Amplifier attorney subscribers who we add a lead magnet to their site, if they have even decent website traffic, our lead magnet can boost conversion rate 20 to 30%. And that's pretty significant. So as Lauren was saying, there are certainly different types of lead magnets. You certainly don't need to offer a 100-page book. People learn in different ways, right? Prefer to kind of ingest content in different ways. And you probably know better than anyone, the ways in which your prospects and clients kind of prefer to ingest content. But, I highly recommend kind of experimenting with maybe offering shorter booklets, longer books, videos, quizzes can be interesting. Do I need an attorney? That quiz is really popular for us. So, kind of see what resonates and sort of how you can best serve up content in a way that's helpful and useful for your prospects.
That's great. So to reiterate what Cara is saying, the beauty of a lead magnet is you are collecting that contact information and the follow-up is happening automatically. You are not having to jump on a consultation, but you are providing more educational content to make that lead more sales ready. So the natural next question we get is, where do you feature your lead magnet? So there's a couple different places you can feature it. One is on a pop-up on your site. So Cara mentioned getting a 20 to 30% increase in leads just by putting a pop-up on your site. That's going to convert more of existing traffic. Now, we often hear pushback against a pop-up. Are you sure that won't feel spammy? And I'd argue that, one, give it a try and see how it goes. And two, if you are offering valuable content, then the right lead will really appreciate the pop-up. Someone who's going to feel like it's spammy probably isn't going to be a good lead for you or a high quality lead for you because they're not really at the point where they need your services or are even considering your services. So an unaware prospect would probably consider a pop-up to be spammy, but someone who's problem aware, solution aware, or even product aware is going to think, oh my gosh, I've been dying for this information and I'd love to see what this attorney has to say about what's going on for me right now. Another great place to link your lead magnet is in your email signature. You send a lot of emails every day, I'm sure. So does your staff if you have anyone on your team. Just a link to your lead magnet in your email signature will generate not only more leads, but people who might refer your services would send that lead to someone that they know because they see it in your email signature. A third place to promote it is in your social media profile bios. So if you use social media marketing in any sort of way, just a quick link to your lead magnet can be really helpful. And I'd encourage you to even think about some of your non-business profiles. If you're active on Facebook, active on Instagram, or active, LinkedIn would be more of a business profile, but you can even include a link there because you'd be surprised how many people in your personal network may be able to refer someone to you, and just having a quick place where they can get more information can be really helpful. And then number 4 is send existing paid ads traffic to your lead magnet. So oftentimes one of the challenges with paid ads is that we're focusing only on people at the bottom of that funnel in the product aware and solution aware stage. And especially in Google search, unless someone's searching for, I need a personal attorney injury now, then they may not be ready yet to book a consultation with you. So sending them to your lead magnet can be a great way to collect a lead that you can eventually turn into a consultation. So these are 4 great places to feature your lead magnet. And if you do this, it's as long as you're getting some traffic, some quality traffic, you should see a significant increase in leads just from the lead magnet. Okay, so the lead magnet is addressing warm leads, but the second action path that I recommend having on your site is an inquiry form. And this is going to address hot leads. So I personally don't believe that a contact form is sufficient for hot leads. Typically, they're very generic, name, email, message. And it doesn't allow hot leads to take the action that they want to take, which is book a consultation with you. Plus, it requires a lot of manual follow-up on your end, which, as we know, the less manual work you or your staff have to do, the more likely it is to get done, just because we can be spread pretty thin. So what I like to do is recommend some sort of inquiry form that is a little bit longer than a contact form. So I don't believe that shorter is better in this instance. Having a form that asks as many questions as you need to have a value-packed consultation with a hot lead will not only ensure the lead's more sales ready, but it'll allow you to quickly start off the consultation, having enough background information to really dive into the nitty-gritty right away and stand out with your hot lead. So maybe there's 3, 4, or 7 questions that you're asking in the inquiry form when someone wants to book a consultation with you. And think about the questions that you ask at the start of any consultation. These can be great to pull out of the call process and put into this inquiry form. It also allows you to really easily measure, okay, what's the quality of leads that are coming our way and are wanting to book consultations? And if they're not high quality enough, what else do we need to be doing to ensure these leads are more sales ready? On the back end of that form submission, it's great to include a calendar booking link. Why? People have indicated they want to talk to you. Give them a way to get on your calendar right away so that you don't have to follow up and have all that annoying conversation that's, oh, what time are you available? Here's what time I'm available, back and forth. There's lots of great services, Calendly, Acuity, where you can create a calendar booking link and you just put it in front of that hot lead right away and they automatically get booked on your calendar. And you can set times that you're available, times that you're not available. You can sync it with your Outlook or Google Calendar so that there's no conflicts. This is a great way to allow hot leads to take the action they want without you having to do a lot of work. Okay, so to summarize, I want you guys to have 2 clear action paths on your website designed to convert anonymous visitors into leads. The lead magnet attracts leads who are very early on in the buying process and warm. The inquiry form attracts leads who are ready or almost ready for purchase. So now that you presumably have these 2 paths or are going to implement these 2 paths, the next question is, well, what do I do on the back end of receiving those leads? So there's a couple ways you can approach this. One is more manual, process number 1. This can be time consuming, a little hard to scale. And so I recommend doing this for hot leads. And I'm going to walk you through exactly what this process is. But we only want to be doing the manual work for the highest quality leads who are almost ready to become clients. So down in that product aware, most aware stage. Process number 2 is a one-to-many follow-up approach that is automated, easy to scale, and in my opinion is great for warm leads and past clients who may refer their business to you, and it doesn't require a lot of your ongoing time. So let me walk you through each of these processes. Okay, so process number 1, we're going to follow up for hot leads. And I will just let you guys know, we are going to be sending out a cheat sheet after this webinar, along with the recording, that highlights each step in these 2 processes. So if you don't want to take notes, you will get notes from us. So hot leads, ideally on the back end of that book calendar booking link, there's an automated email with some educational content in there. So we're trying to make that lead more sales ready. So let's put some content in front of them that's going to answer a lot of their basic questions. And you can include a shock and awe package here. So Cara, I'm going to pass the mic to you and let you talk a little more about this.
Sure. Yeah. So the shock and awe, so that's something that really kind of kicks off your prospect nurturing campaign. We call it a shock and awe package, but it essentially should include, it should be a comprehensive, impressive sort of wow package that is automatically and pretty immediately sent to those folks who show interest. So in the shock and awe packages that we include in our program, we include the 100-page book that Lauren was mentioning earlier. So again, answering many of those common questions, really establishing you as the authority, as the expert, conveying, your caring. A cover letter that sort of describes, what the process is like, a little bit more about, what can be expected and what it's like working with you specifically. How is the experience at your firm different than, every other firm, in town. And again, just distinguishing yourself with a high quality package of educational materials. That's kind of the key to the Shakana launching into that drip nurturing sequence. Is that anything? I can continue, Lauren, but is that okay? Is that good?
That's great. Thanks, Cara.
Yeah.
Okay, so someone's booked with you. They've received this automated email with some amazing content that makes you stand out among your competition. And then leading up to the consultation, you want to send automated email and text reminders to increase show up rates. There's nothing worse than having a book consultation and no one's showing up. So we want to really reduce any no-shows. Any sort of calendar booking software that you're using, Calendly, Acuity, they have automated email and text reminders as a part of their service. So you just set this up and you say, okay, at 24 hours, send an email, 1 hour before, send an email and a text, and 15 minutes before, send an email and a text. Remember, not everyone's that organized, and people make a lot of appointments. They forget things, they get distracted because they have a lot going on. So anyone who's a hot lead will appreciate these reminders because it ensures that they show up on time, and it shows that you're really serious about your time with them and to be respectful of that, which is what we all want, right? Your time is valuable, their time is valuable, and we want to have mutual respect for your expertise and for the time that you're taking to show up and give them some free advice, essentially, in hopes that they become a client. Okay, so step number 3 is actually during the consultation. So I recommend having a structured sales process that you walk through during consultation calls. So ideally, all calls work more or less the same. You're asking a few questions. You're letting them know about your services and next steps, and then you're letting them know what to expect next and what actions they need to take in order to become a client. So if you don't have this in place, we can certainly talk about this in the Q&A, but the more organized you are on the call, the more it demonstrates to the prospective client that you know what you're doing, you are going to lead them down the best path, and that you are an authority in your domain. If you're showing up to this call, and I'm going to exaggerate for effect, but a little disorganized and aren't sure what questions you're going to ask, they're going to get the feeling of, okay, this attorney isn't as organized as I need them to be in order to best serve me. Whether or not that's something they're actually vocalizing in their head, it's just the impression they're going to walk away with. And we want you to be the ultimate authority on this call.
Lauren, can I add something really quick to that too? So, I think this is also where the additional information from that inquiry form comes in, right? If you're able to gather some specific information on that prospect, then you can use that to really tailor this structured sales process that Lauren is referring to. And that can go a long way. And this doesn't take a lot of time or effort, right? It's gathering the information, from your prospects that will help you determine, one, if you can help them at all, right? If that call is even worthwhile, but also, how can you convey that you've handled very similar cases in the past? And here is how that process plays out. Here's the burden that was removed from that client, that past client, once you as the attorney kind of took on that case. So kind of painting that picture with that additional information can really go a long way in really kind of customizing and tailoring this follow-up and this sales process without taking a lot of extra time and effort. And so often I hear attorneys, they say all the time, well, don't those longer forms kind of deter people from completing the forms? I would argue that's not such a bad thing, right? And to Lauren's point earlier, you need to do some deselling. You need to identify those kind of qualifying questions or those areas that really identify your ideal prospect. Will certainly allow you to really direct your attention at those folks you can really help. Certainly, decrease the amount of time that you're wasting on those unqualified prospects, and then also just kind of set you up for the ongoing conversation.
Yeah, and to that point, the client's going to have to do a lot of work in order for you to have a successful relationship with them. So if they can't answer a few basic questions and that deters them, then that's a good indicator of what kind of client they're going to be. And presumably that's not the best fit for you. So just another kind of point about lead qualification there. Okay, so if you're on this consultation and you can sense that someone's a little bit unsure about taking the next steps with you, or may need a little more time before they're ready to make a decision, I recommend while you're on that call, before you hang up, saying, okay, Lauren, I'm going to send you some information about next steps in an email after this call. But I want to make sure I can answer your questions on a call because it's often easier than email. So when would be the best time to get a 15-minute follow-up within the next week so I can address your questions? This means you'll be able to see right away, is someone serious about potentially taking the next steps with you? Will they appreciate that you're going to have another 15 minutes to answer their question? And it'll be on their calendar, so they feel more committed to showing up. This is a really easy win from a sales perspective, and it doesn't have to be a lot of your time. And people are less likely to ghost you on a call than they might be through kind of, okay, I've sent 5 emails to their inbox, but I haven't heard from them. It feels easier to ignore emails than it does to ignore a call. Okay, and then last but not least, oops, sorry, 2 more things. So after the consultation, I'd send an email follow-up with a list of next steps. This is the only thing in here that's manual, but I do think you can template this and delegate it to a team member. So someone else in your firm, or you can just, have a copy and paste template that you do and then modify a few items to fit the lead that you had a consultation with. And then last but not least, most people take multiple touch points before they're going to convert into a client. So if you have some sort of follow-up process after the consultation, you can delegate this and template this as well. But don't expect that everyone's going to convert on the call or immediately after the call. Cara, do you have any thoughts about how to make this easier, knowing how thin attorneys can be spread?
Oh, yes. So I do hear that a lot, right? I'm a solo practitioner. I'm always sort of underwater dealing with pressing client matters. I feel like I don't have time to really take on anything else in this specific case, lead follow-up, lead tracking. I hear you. This needs to be a priority. It really, really does. And there are definitely some ways to make it a priority. And if you happen to have someone, if you're a true solo, then, we need to talk about automating a lot of this follow-up, right? We need to talk about, maybe getting you some outside help from an outside vendor, right? There are certainly ways to address these that don't take, a ton of your time specifically, as the attorney. But even, typically, your paralegal would be a great person to outsource or, to kind of delegate this to, right? He or she might have a lot of other items on their plate, but typically this fits pretty nicely in with, maybe they're handling your intake, and, it's a kind of a natural progression into kind of creating this system that if you have someone dedicated to this, it's much more likely to get done, much more likely to sustain, and if it lands on your plate, we all know how that is. I know how that is. And it's really, you kind of become the bottleneck there. And that's not good for anyone, right? So, I would highly suggest, again, if you do have anyone internally, delegate this, incentivize them to, keep pulling these prospects through, the varying sort of, phases of your pipeline, whatever that looks like, and get reporting from them on a regular basis. Create some accountability that allows you to look at the high level and really only be involved, when it's absolutely critical. But again, true solos, reach out. I love to talk about this stuff, no strings attached. We can really start to one-on-one kind of individually create a plan that helps you prioritize this, because it's just a necessity. You know, there's so much low-hanging fruit. Like, I cannot stress that enough, that, you know, you're losing out on so much business if you don't make this a priority. So, you know, I do think there are ways, absolutely. I know that there are ways to really integrate this into your processes and into your firm.
And if this is all it takes to convert 20% more of those consultations that you're already having into clients, like, why not? Why not give it a try? Okay, so we've talked about the process for hot leads, and now I want to talk about the process for warm leads. So these are people who are coming through the lead magnet. So here our goal is to educate and then encourage booking a consultation when someone's more sales ready. So in step number 1, we want an automated email sequence on the back end of that pop-up on your site that educates and encourages booking a consultation. So this can be done a number of ways. I'm going to let Cara chime in on how she best recommends to do this, but really here, this doesn't involve any of your time. It just involves having content, and it just involves having it set up in an email sequence.
Yeah. So, you know, there are ways to really kind of increase the likelihood. So yeah, the whole goal, you know, stepping back for a second, the whole goal is to, you know, nurture those warmer leads along until they are ready to sign, right? Until they are ready to book that appointment. A lot of these nurturing sequences can be written once and really kind of used for years with maybe little minor tweaks. So think about it as a really positive kind of initial time investment that can really pay dividends seriously for years to come. So, you know, I know it can sometimes seem daunting to create some of this stuff, but, you know, just start by answering the questions that you commonly get from prospects, right? Just sit down, block out an afternoon, brainstorm a list of the questions that you get. And each one of those can be a separate email. Each one of those can eventually be a separate video. So, just think about every piece of content that's included kind of in these automated email nurturing sequences. It needs to be sort of directly talking to your prospects as much as possible, directly answering the questions, their concerns, helping them, providing value, right? You need to provide value in every form of communication that you're providing your prospects. Otherwise, they're just going to tune out, right? We're not just sending sort of salesy emails, you know, that are all about you, the attorney. It's really about providing that value. And then something that we did internally at James that really boosted our conversion rate, or really boosted the number of appointments that we were setting from prospects, is including a video once in a while on either it could be just, you know, linking directly in the email. It could be on a thank you page, you know, after they're completing a form, and really describe what they will get, what an appointment with you will be like, right? What they can expect. Video is obviously tremendous for building that trust, distinguishing yourself. Your prospects are coming to you. They're scared, they're nervous, they're going through a situation they likely know very little about. They likely know very little about you as an attorney and your approach as a person. So that can really kind of help bridge that gap and again, kind of move them, you know, kind of comfortably down that funnel. Lauren, have you had similar experience?
I have, and I'll say I really love the marketing geek in me really loves kind of looking at example funnels like this for warm and hot leads. And even yesterday, I was running through someone else's, and on their thank you page of the inquiry form, they had a video, and they actually said on the video, if you're not ready to do XYZ, cancel this call because I don't want to waste your time or my time, after they provided some helpful information. But they were really upfront about here's if you're qualified for this call, and if you're not, it's okay to get off my calendar because I don't want to waste your time, and you don't want to and you don't want to waste my time. And so video can not only be a great way to build up that know, like, and trust factor, like Cara said, but it can also be a great way to help educate the lead on whether they're ready for your services or not. Okay, so we have this automated email sequence that's educating and encouraging the leads that are sales ready to book a consultation. You could also layer on a one-on-one follow-up with an email call or text from your firm. This can be templated and delegated to someone else in your firm. And I would argue it could maybe even be automated, but look like a manual follow-up. So something like, hey, Lauren, I just saw you downloaded our ebook on XYZ. Wanted to see if you had any questions. That doesn't look like an automated email, but you could automate that to send 2 days, 3 days, 1 hour after I've downloaded whatever your lead magnet is. This can be a great way to allow leads to start a conversation with you before you jump on a consultation. So then someone in your firm can start to ask a few basic questions and then direct them to the right place, whether that's somewhere else to get different help because you're not the right person for them, whether that's to some more educational materials or whether that's to booking a consultation. Okay, third thing is to track all new leads in your CRM. I'm going to let Kara speak to this because I know everyone has different practice management systems, different CRMs, but we really want to keep an eye on how many leads you're getting, what actions they're taking, and what they need to move to the next step. And if we have no place to house all this information, then we really don't know how well your marketing is working or how well it's not working and what needs to be done to improve it.
Exactly. And I think keeping it as simple as possible here is really important. You know, often I talk to attorneys who they're just trying to kind of over-engineer this process. It gets confusing, it gets cumbersome, and then it stops, right? So really keeping this as simple as possible, really just you know, identifying those sort of milestones that make sense in your funnel, and you know, ideally, again, delegating someone that's someone in your office who's responsible for kind of moving these, you know, these prospects through that funnel. You know, that's really all that we're talking about. It doesn't need to be this complex manual process. You know, you have all these tags and all of these different categories for varying types. You know, keep it simple, especially to start. You know, to Lauren's point, obviously there's, you know, you're more than likely using a practice management system. Maybe you're also layering on a CRM there. You don't want to have to kind of update multiple systems. That just becomes a nightmare. Everything kind of needs to be integrated, but you know, reach out if you have specific questions here, but really keep it simple. Infusionsoft tends to be, you know, I hear from attorneys a lot that, you know, I get lost, right? So, you know, someone recommended I use Infusionsoft and, you know, I'm confused. It's too much. I think it's more than I need. It probably is more than you need then. You know, if you're a smaller firm, if you're a solo practitioner, you know, you don't need kind of all those additional bells and whistles and complex setups. So, you know, reach out. We can talk about your situation specifically, but really try and keep it simple here, or it's not going to be sustainable.
I 100% agree. And, you know, in the industry, we call it Confusionsoft, not to say Infusionsoft can't be great for the right firm, but not only do you have to understand the tech, but hiring help to manage the tech can be very expensive. So it's often not a great fit for someone who has a total number of, you know, not many leads coming in, and or is a smaller firm that isn't ready to hire that out. You can accomplish a lot of the same things you do in Infusionsoft with other easier, simpler tech. And then when you're ready, you could upgrade to Infusionsoft. But it is not the cheapest place to start. It is not the easiest place to start. And often I find that Infusionsoft goes unused because it's too complicated. Okay, so last 2 steps in following up with warm leads. First, I recommend sending regular marketing emails. So in addition to that automated sequence, once that ends, you want to send monthly, twice a month, once a week emails to keep top of mind, keep building your authority, and continue to educate your leads until they're ready to book with you. Now, I'm going to address some objections on marketing emails in a second that I often hear to help you see how this fits in and why email can be your best source for driving new prospects to your pipeline. Okay, and the fifth step here is just periodically re-engaging and pruning that list of leads, the people who are receiving your emails, with a 9-word email. So I'm going to walk you through exactly what this means. So 9-word email was coined by Dean Jackson, who's a marketer that started in the real estate space. It's really simple, so I'm not going to take credit for the strategy, but basically you send an email that says, are you still interested in? And then whatever problem your prospect is facing. And what you do is, let's say 120 days after someone has opted into your lead magnet, 4 months, you say, okay, are you still interested in getting help with your personal injury case? People who are interested will reply and they'll re-engage, and then you're able to kind of move them through the funnel manually to booking a consultation. Anyone who doesn't engage, you can then decide, okay, I'm going to remove all of these people from my list. So I'm keeping my list clean, keeping the deliverability high, and not emailing to people who are no longer interested in my services. Now, when you send this 9-word email, it depends largely on your industry. It depends largely on how long your prospective clients take to make decisions. Like, we spoke with an attorney, I think it was during our last webinar last month. I was like, no, it only takes 14 days and someone makes a decision within 14 days. So he may send the 9-word email maybe a month in, whereas someone who maybe bankruptcy is taking a lot longer. And so maybe you send the 9-word email 6 months in. But this can be a great way to kind of unearth what we might call in the marketing world lurkers, people who are opening your email, who are reading everything but aren't taking action, to unearth them and move them through to a consultation. And keep in mind, this is just, are you still interested in X? We don't put anything about your services in there. We want a reply. So we're not overcomplicating the copy in that email we're sending. So talking about marketing emails, if you're coming up with the thought, I'm afraid of being spammy, I'm not sure what to write about, or I nurture my leads on social media or elsewhere, I don't need email. Let me address each of those things. I'm not afraid of being spammy. All that you need is some really high value educational content. As long as it's serving someone's needs, as long as it's addressing the problem they're facing, as long as it understands where they're at right now in their current situation, then it won't feel spammy. But let's say, I've come to you for personal injury advice and I'm on your list, but all of a sudden you start sending me emails about, I don't know, how to dress fashionably. Okay, well, that's going to feel really spammy because it has nothing to do with why I came to you in the first place. But if you're sending me content about, okay, here's when you know you need to hire an attorney, here's the first steps you should take to be ready to hire an attorney, here's some of the common pitfalls we see in these types of cases, then that's really helpful to me and I don't consider your email spammy. If you're not sure what to write about, the best place I recommend starting is, what are the frequently asked questions you get? Address each one in an email. You can either write it out, or if writing's not your thing, you could record a video with your phone, that could be enough, and address each of those questions in one video. If you did 8 videos, you sent them every 2 weeks, that would be content for 2 months. And then if you say, I nurture my leads on social media or someone else and I don't need email, or I don't believe people open email, or I think email is dead, I just want to put this stat in front of you. 67% of marketers say that email is the top channel for driving leads to their sales pipeline. I find this to be the case with everyone I work with. I know Cara and Mike find this to be the case. So email can be a top channel for you. It's just about doing it more consistently, sending the right content, and potentially automating that and having someone else take that off your plate so you don't have to think about it and you can focus on the areas of your practice that really need you, because there's other people that can create emails for you and make sure they get sent out. Cara, do you have any thoughts about email that I may have missed?
Just echoing what you said, Lauren, it's so true that email works, but you have to be providing value, right? And it needs to be, the more you can sort of tailor those emails in an automated way, for your folks. So, if you're practicing in multiple areas, let's set up some campaigns that are geared toward what that prospect needs help with, right? So, rather than sending them information that will help with, an injury case and, will help with their estate plan and will help with their divorce, let's get, it's not difficult to get them to kind of opt into the appropriate campaign that will speak, most to their problem. And again, that's not a ton of work. It's just a little bit of setup up front, and then you're providing, the most targeted, valuable content. But it's true. I mean, it does work. It absolutely works. And that's why I always encourage attorneys, if you don't have an email list, we'll start collecting email addresses. It's never kind of too late, really. Like, you don't have to have hundreds of thousands of emails to make this impactful. So, start collecting those addresses, start somewhere, and this effort will steadily grow. It's about being consistent and about providing that value. So I completely agree, Lauren.
Thanks, Cara. Okay, so we briefly touched on this, but the more you can automate your email marketing, the less you have to worry about. Consistency, in my opinion, is more important than creating perfect content. People get bombarded with a lot of messages every day. They're not going to remember every single email you send, but they might have one takeaway from each piece of content you send. And that's really all we're asking for, is what's the one takeaway someone can get from my email that's going to move them farther along down that stages of awareness. And then if you're doing your email marketing yourself, I do recommend batching the 3 phases. Just brainstorm ideas first. Don't work on writing anything. We don't want to judge any ideas that come from brainstorming. We just want to, have a brain dump, look at a bunch of ideas, and then let that sit for 24 to 48 hours before we come back to write each of those ideas. Same thing with editing. Set the content aside and then come back with fresh eyes to edit. So in summary, first impressions count. How you treat someone as a new lead is how they'll presume you treat them as a client. If they feel forgotten, if they feel like they haven't gotten enough information, if they feel like you've never taken action on reaching out to them, that doesn't win you brownie points in their book, and you are not likely to be the attorney who they hire. So for example, I filled out a contact form for an attorney about a year ago, never got a call, never was able to book an appointment, never was able to take the next step with them. And so I assumed, this is not going to be the right person to help me with my issue that I'm currently facing. And I ended up not needing an attorney, so it didn't matter. But how me, if I'm your lead, interacts with your content online, and how I interact with your consultation booking process really allows me to say, okay, this attorney stands out among everyone else who I've reached out to, and they're going to be who I want to book a consultation with, and likely who I want to hire. So now that you've heard about all this process, which we are going to send you a cheat sheet for along with this recording, I'd love to know, would you revise that grade that you gave yourself of 1 to 10 on your firm's follow-up with new leads? And if you can just drop this in the chat. Again, no judgment. I just want to understand what this education has done for you and if there's anything you would change. Okay, James, 8, awesome. Okay, so while I'm waiting for you guys to dump that in the chat, I'm just going to let you know, if you're looking at all this and you're wondering, gosh, this sounds amazing, I really want to do all this, but I need some help. I do encourage you, and I'll let Cara speak to this in a second, to consider reaching out to book a demo about James Amplifier. There are a lot of these pieces, if not all, that we can do for you. The branded shock and awe package, the educational email series, even a past client newsletter to nurture those clients who may give you referrals, custom videos. We can help you with all of that so that you can focus on the highest value areas in your firm that only you can do, and we can kind of come in and supplement for some of this lead management process.
Yeah, thanks, Lauren. I mean, I know many of you are already working with us, but if you are looking for some help with the lead tracking, with the nurturing, improving your conversion rate, basically everything that Lauren presented today, our marketing amplifier system really is kind of a done for you program that takes all of this work off of your plate. So included in the program, you gain immediate access to our pretty massive library of consumer books and booklets, answering common questions in your specific area of practice. We brand all of the content for you. As long as you're our subscriber, you're essentially licensing that content from us, free to use it in any way that you wish, but we certainly put that content to work for you in some specific ways, add it to your site as lead magnets, as we talked about previously. You get lengthy educational nurturing sequences really for every phase of the client life cycle. So for those prospects, for welcoming those new clients, and for staying in touch with those past clients for referral purposes. The program does include a monthly newsletter. What else? You get monthly custom videos. We conduct virtual Zoom shoots with you to gather the footage that we need, both scripted and kind of more talking point based, answering common questions, certainly highlighting past cases so that we're helping you grow, really create an ever-growing collection of custom videos that are delivered on a monthly basis. You get social media content, so pretty varied and diverse social media content that we offer. We're delivering referral partner appointments for you. So we're actually the matchmaker. We're reaching out to non-competing attorneys or allied professionals in your area who would commonly come across the type of client that you're looking for. We're actually calling those folks and setting an appointment with access to your calendar, setting an appointment for you with those potential referral sources, and then helping you kind of cultivate, nurture those new referral relationships on an ongoing basis to make sure that that's a fruitful kind of long-term relationship. Online review management is also part of the program. So there's a lot that's packed in. If you're interested in learning more, please reach out. I'll actually drop my calendar link in the chat, set an appointment. But again, I just love talking about this stuff. So reach out. Let me send this, but reach out anytime, and I would be more than happy to chat about it. And okay, I just sent it. Thanks, Lauren.
Okay, so I'm going to address some of the questions in a second, but to summarize, today we've talked about 2 paths we want you to create on your website to generate more leads from your already existing traffic and to qualify them into kind of the hot bucket or the warm bucket. And then on the back end of those buckets, we've talked through the lead nurturing process. So how to treat the hot leads, how to treat the warm leads in ways that don't require so much of your time as the highest value person in your firm, but will increase the number of sales opportunities you have on the back end of the leads you're already generating. And if you decide to drive even more traffic to your site on an increased lead volume. So before I address Q&A, I do want to let you know we are going to have another session next month. We're going to talk all about creating a winning social media strategy. We will email you these dates and times. We're going to see Thursday, May 20th at the same time as a session. And there will be a replay available for anyone who can't make it live. The other thing is we opened up a new Facebook group for attorneys who want to talk about growing their legal practice. This is free for you. I will drop the link in the chat in a second. I will also send it via email after this session, but this is really an opportunity for you to network with your peers, hear what's working for them, get some tips that we are finding are working for our attorneys, and this is really your community to make the most of. So make sure to join if you haven't already. Okay, so Q&A, and I am going to start with James. So James mentions that his issue is actually the opposite, which is how do I screen out injury cases that are too small to be profitable? So James, I'm guessing you're either jumping on consultations with people who wouldn't be qualified for your services, or handling questions in some sort of way, email. And my recommendation would be, 1, to implement that inquiry form if you haven't, and include some qualifying questions there. So if someone books on your calendar and you see that they're not going to be qualified immediately after answering those questions, that someone on your team can reach out and say, you know what, we're not the best person to help with your case, but here's an attorney who is. Then you're not even jumping on a call with a case that's clearly not a good fit for your firm. The other thing is, if you don't have a lead magnet and an automated sequence on the back end of that, that can be a great opportunity to say, are we the right attorney for your situation? Yay or nay. And that can really be what your lead magnet is about, on, are we the right firm for you? Do you need us? What's great about a lead magnet like that is it's high purchase intent, as we would say in the marketing world, which is it's really understanding, is the lead a good fit for your firm? And you could even implement a video on the back end of your consultation booking that says, hey, so glad you're booked a consultation with us. Really excited to talk to you. And here are 3 things that will make us a good fit for you. If any of these three things might make you feel like, oh, you know what, I might need someone else. Totally get it. Feel free to cancel your consultation and reach out to this email address, and my paralegal will let you know who's going to be a better fit for you. So your focus should really be on, how do I qualify people before I speak with them? Cara, do you have anything else to add to that?
I think that does it, Lauren. Yeah, that was really good. I agree.
And then James also asked, what is a nurture lead? This is basically a lead that has continued to receive ongoing information from you and isn't just an eyeball that's come to your site and then doesn't turn into a contact that you can then move through those stages of awareness. Okay, so Ruben asks, how can we handle a lead that was bought from a marketing company? So Ruben, if you're still here and able to give me a little bit of information on how this lead comes to you, do they fill out a form? Where do they come from? That would give me some helpful information. But I would argue that you can send them your lead magnet first, just give them some more information. On the back end of that, it'll try and convert them into a consultation. And then you're not spending a lot of time and it's kind of working in the background for you. And ideally that lead magnet is getting sent out almost as quickly as you receive the lead. So let's say you receive the lead tomorrow, ideally sometime tomorrow, they would receive that lead magnet. You don't want that lead to sit for a day, 3 days, 5 days, 2 weeks, where they have time to go find someone else who's going to better serve their needs. What was the name of the Facebook group on the last side? Let me pop the URL down here into the chat while I'll let Cara answer Ruben's question a little more in depth.
Did we get any more info on it? No.
I don't see any more info.
Okay, yeah, because I agree. A little bit more info would be helpful, Ruben. But I mean, how can we handle a lead that was bought from a marketing company? I mean, essentially the same way, really, right? I mean, of course, it depends on how qualified that lead is, and really it depends on how it came through. But assuming that, maybe it's a lead that you purchased, through Nolo or, through lawyers, through lawyers.com or something like that, kind of try to put them through that same funnel, that same qualifying funnel, because so often I speak with attorneys who are investing either in PPC or purchase leads, and maybe they're getting a high volume of leads, but so often so much of their time is spent, or their team's time is spent sifting through those leads, right? And you don't want to have to waste your time doing that. So, try to qualify them best you can before they actually get to you to set that appointment. I think the more kind of work you can do up front before, dedicating that time, especially if it's your time specifically that is kind of at stake, really do as much as you can before. But reach out if you have more specifics, and I'm sure Lauren or myself, would be happy to speak more to that. And then Lauren, just really quick, I want to say Bill asked about pricing for Marketing Amplifier. I should have mentioned that everything is included for $6.95 a month. So we actually only charge $1 for the first month. It's a 3-month commitment. So you're really basically paying for 2 of the first 3 months. After the 3 months, it's a month-to-month agreement, cancel anytime, no cancellation fees. So everything is wrapped up. Everything is included in one comprehensive program for $6.95 a month. So I did want to make that clear.
So Noah's asking, is there best time to automate these drip email or drip campaigns? And is there data on best times for open-end clicks? So I'd argue it depends a little bit on the situation, who your audience is, but I'll give you a couple examples. If I've opted into your lead magnet, then the best time to send me an email is immediately after I've opted in. We don't want to send it at 6 p.m. at night. That might be 6 hours later, just because we've determined that's the best time to send an email. It's really about, when do I take the action, and then immediately give me what I've asked for as your subscriber or as your lead. So if the automation is behavior triggered, I've booked a consultation, I've requested your lead magnet, then you want to immediately deliver those emails no matter what time it is. For your ongoing marketing emails, meaning you're sending to your entire list, or maybe we're talking about the drip emails that happen on the back end of those lead magnets, then the short answer I have is you want to test and see what works best for your audience, because it depends on your time zone. It depends on who your audience is. So for example, let's say you're in the business litigation practice specialty and people are reaching out to you during business hours. Great, then during week and during business hours is probably the best time to send to them. But if I am more of a, consumer, meaning B2C, and I'm in kind of personal injury and I'm reaching out late at night because that's when I have time to address this issue because I work during the day, then maybe the best time to send to me is in the evening, during weekdays, or even on the weekends. So to some degree, it depends, but Cara may also have some data about what's working best for James Amplifier's subscribers.
Well, I think really, Lauren, what matters here too is frequency of these emails. So kind of depending on your area of practice and depending on the types of cases that you're handling, do we need to kind of front load that content? Do we need to send, an email a week, 2 emails a week for the first few weeks, then kind of back off a little bit? Or, does it make sense that, typically these decisions are made over a longer period of time, a longer stretch of time? So I think the frequency is kind of what's more important. Typically, what we found most effective is kind of front loading that content, meaning what we do and what has worked well for us is sending weekly emails, typically around midday is what works best for us. So weekly emails that first month, and then stretching out more to monthly emails actually after that. So I think that's kind of important to consider, kind of how your prospects behave and the situations that they're typically going through and how that content can kind of be best received in that structure.
That's great, Cara. So before we sign off, are there any other questions that you guys would like answered while we're still here? And while I'm waiting for some responses to come through, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being here live. We are going to send out the recording. You can share that with any team members. We are going to send out a cheat sheet. You can also share that with any team members. We'll also send out the link to the Facebook group. And if you have questions about how can Amplifier help you do this without requiring a lot of your time, definitely reach out to Cara using that booking link. Or if you are an Amplifier subscriber and you want to book your video appointments and get those custom videos going, definitely reach out as well.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. This was great, Lauren. So much great information.
Okay. Thank you, guys. It looks like there's no more questions. So I hope you all have a wonderful rest of your afternoon, and we will see you on the next session.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.